Welcome to How I Got Successful podcast. My name is Priyanka, and today, founder and CEO of 3 different startups, CalendAir, Fluent Future, and Teentrepreneurz, Melissa Chowdhury is with us. Welcome, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's start at the beginning, Melissa. Can you tell us about your journey? How did you get started on your path to becoming a CEO?
Yeah, so basically I've always been very creative. I've always been very ambitious, and whenever I kind of come across a problem, like I said, there's always my first instinct is to find a solution to that problem. I know some people might feel a little bit annoyed or frustrated with whatever it is, but to me I think of it kind of as an opportunity and see if there's some solution that I can find to that problem. So for CalendAir, it was procrastination. It was just really frustrating. I was always putting off my work to the next day, and then the day before it was due, I had a whole pile of work, and I was stressed and trying to get it in before the deadline. And using AI, and I found a solution to kind of help students, not just me, but also my classmates that struggle with the exact same thing, to kind of find something that can help reduce this as much as possible. And for Fluent Future, the nonprofit, it's the same way. I've seen my parents struggle. I've seen a bunch of my family members struggle. I'm half Ukrainian. On my mom's side, she's Ukrainian, and right now there's a war in the country, and so a lot of them are leaving the country and going to places all around the world, whether it's the US, or some of my relatives are in Poland right now. And just finding a job is just extremely difficult because of the language barrier, and they don't have access to English resources to find jobs. But if they do know the English language, they can get jobs that will double, triple, or quadruple their salary, and they can live in a more comfortable way. So just seeing their struggles kind of inspired my own solutions, and that just turned into a company.
That sounds like quite a journey, Melissa.
Thank you.
Who or what inspired you to take such a role?
Definitely my parents. My parents, since I said, they started off working just really simple jobs, despite how smart they actually were. They, my dad worked at an ice cream shop for so many years just because he didn't really know much English or have that degree here in the US. He had a degree back in Bangladesh. He's from Bangladesh. But here he didn't, and so he had to work his way up, and then eventually he was able to start his own business. Eventually he was able to kind of find his way, but it took a lot of perseverance. And so if I can help people in his situation, in the situation that he was in, let's say 10 years ago, and just make that process a little bit easier for them, that's kind of what inspires me to keep going, and inspires me to do whatever is in my possession to help them.
It's amazing how our early experiences can shape us.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the important lessons you have learned along the way?
I've definitely learned that you have to be very strategic and professional when working with a lot of other people, because right now, on the nonprofit, I manage a team of around 150 other high school volunteers, and so they're all teenagers, and we all in a way, a lot of them are sometimes it's hard to be serious even for me, but I know that if I don't take the organization seriously, and if I don't deliver all the messages and communicate in a professional way, no one else is going to take it seriously. So I have to kind of present myself in a new light and just kind of be mature, and it just taught me to kind of have a more developed and strategic way of approaching these things, because I'm still kind of a kid myself. I'm in high school, I'm a senior in high school, so yeah, it's hard to be, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult to be professional when everyone's joking, but it must be done just for a mission to be taken seriously.
These are great lessons, and as you are saying that you are still a kid, but you are the CEO of 3 companies. Can you share with us what each of these companies does and how you manage them all?
Yeah, so CalendAir is an app designed for students and teachers to tackle the issue of procrastination and efficiency in the classroom, just to make the lessons more efficient, make sure the teachers are being able to communicate better with the students, make sure the students are able to understand the content better, and just have like a more mutual understanding and a mutual beneficial like relationship with each other. And we use like AI in the app to kind of have a bunch of features that are mutually beneficial for both teachers and students. And Fluent Future is the nonprofit. We teach students all across the world. Right now, we're mostly teaching students in Ukraine because of the war. A lot of them are fleeing the country and they really need jobs. And the English language barrier, like wherever you go, if you go to Poland or anywhere in Italy, everyone kind of speaks English. You can get a job if you speak English, but if you speak Ukrainian, barely any people speak it there. English is such like a universal language. Like everyone, like right now I'm talking to you and like there's no problem, like there's no barrier between us. But that's why, but also there, like I have a lot of family there and it's extremely expensive to enroll your child in English lessons. So just that financial barrier is what prevents like a lot of families from succeeding. And yeah, like my own relatives have been kind of like they spend their last money on English classes because it's such an investment for their future and for their child's future. And if we're able here to deliver that to them for free, then that's what we're trying to do. And then my third company that I'm just launching, and hasn't officially launched yet. It's like a little subcategory. It's a little smaller, but it's just like a program called Teentrepreneurz, and I really love entrepreneurship. It's what like my passion is, as you can tell. But it's basically to help other teens kind of get started and kind of teach them like kind of like a mentorship program where I'll help them and like teach them what I know about entrepreneurship, help them like start their business and teach them how to generate ideas, how to pitch, how to gain funding, how to market your product or service, and just teach them kind of the principles of that while giving them like one-on-one individual help.
Managing one company is challenging enough, let alone three. How do you handle it all and what keeps you going?
I kind of try to manage, like, it's very, like, really strategically manage my time throughout the day. So I'll dedicate, like, a portion of my time to Fluent Future. I'll dedicate a portion to CalendAir, and then a portion to the new one, Teentrepreneurz. And if I do all of them together, it kind of gets mixed up. And so sometimes I'll give priority to one. Like, this week I'll focus more on this one because we have more strict deadlines and more things we need to, like, accomplish. And then one week it'll be the other. And so yeah, just like breaking it up strategically is what works for me.
That's a great time management you're doing.
Thank you.
Every journey has its bumps in the road. Can you talk about a particular challenge you faced in your career and how you overcame it?
Yeah, definitely. There was a bunch of challenges. One of the small challenges that we had was our app was actually developed in Serbia. Which is across the world. So sometimes to communicate, there was also a bit of a language barrier because our app developers didn't actually they spoke English. There was sometimes a translator, but sometimes communication was a bit of a struggle between us. And then also like the time zone difference is always a struggle, even when we're teaching with the Ukrainian kids. Sometimes like I had to wake up at like 3 a.m. to hop on a meeting with like the developer and like explain to him what they need to do for their day. And sometimes, yeah, the time zone kind of gets in the way sometimes. So that's a struggle that I kind of had to accommodate with. So if I have to wake up at 3 a.m., I'll just go to sleep a little bit earlier the night before just to accommodate. And I had to kind of, work through that. So that was a tiny struggle, but it was one of the few things that I kind of got into it.
But still you are doing it very greatly. Like, as you said, you are very passionate about entrepreneurship and you are doing it at the 3 a.m. also.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to others facing challenges in their careers?
I would say keep thinking about why you started in the first place. Keep thinking about what goal you're trying to achieve. If you have to write it down, like write down exactly what your goals are, exactly what like inspires you to keep going, and kind of talk to others. I think like communication fuels a lot of inspiration, and that's something that always helps me, like just talking to others, talking to like a mentor. I've had some really great mentors in the past, and every time I finish a meeting with them, I just feel inspired. Like I don't even want to take a break. I just want to go back to work because it just like fuels some motivation and gets me excited. So I would say like really do something that interests you. It has to be something that you love, and then have that be the source of fuel that keeps you going.
These are really great lessons. You have 3 startups. This means you have achieved so much. What are you most proud in your career, and how has it shaped your outlook?
I would say I'm most proud of the nonprofit because it's not just helping me, it's helping so many people. And sometimes like they'll give me messages, like we communicate on Viber, which is like really common in Ukraine. And they'll say like, we love the lesson today. Thank you so much. We're so grateful for the lesson. Just those messages also keep me going, and just hearing back from them and feeling that we're actually like helping, like that I can help someone or help a family with something that my parents struggled with what I see my relatives struggle with. Just that is probably my biggest achievement. And I want to keep on expanding. And also a lot of the volunteers that we have in New York, like in some of the most like elite high schools, we have like a whole set of amazing dedicated volunteers that teach the lessons, that help us organize, that help us fundraise, and help us with our social media. All of them, not all of them, but most of them have come from backgrounds where they've seen their parents struggle with. New York is so diverse, so we have such a big like immigrant and first generation like community. So some of them have seen their own parents struggle with the same things, and so that's their fuel of inspiration to help other people. And so if I'm able to give them like an opportunity to volunteer about something that they care about, then I'm grateful for that too. And that's also a big achievement. So it's kind of like mutually beneficial for both us and together.
Yes, definitely. What's on the horizon of your companies? Any exciting plans or goals you can share with us?
Yeah, so we're actually, for Fluent Future, we're just about to launch our chapters program. So basically right now we're teaching Ukraine, and we have a Bangladesh program, but those are the languages I speak. So I speak Russian, Ukrainian, Bengali, and just like a tiny bit of Spanish. But there's so many other languages and so many other kids from all around the world, like maybe India, maybe China, that want to learn English. And so in New York, we have a foundation of people from every background that speak these languages as well. So we're starting kind of a program where you can start your own chapter. So if someone wanted to start the Indian chapter, they'll have to find like a few volunteers that speak Indian and English, and then a few people from India actually, or like immigrants from India that want to learn English. And so they'll kind of set up the Indian Fluent Future India, and then they'll do that with China, they'll do that with Mexico, they'll do that with like until we get all the countries across the world, and then we can help everyone, because there's only so much that I can do as a person myself, but there's no limits to what we can do when we come together.
These are really amazing projects you're working on. Thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm excited about that. Thank you, Melissa, for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey with us.
Of course, thank you for having me.